You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday, February 20th, 2015. I'm your host, Alex Jones. We take you now live to the Infowars.com studios, where David Knight is hosting the transmission. But I'll kick off the next segment with a special report on a world accelerating into globalist orchestrated turmoil to bring in the one world planetary tyranny. Stay with us.
Yes, welcome to this live edition of the Friday, February the 20th, 2015 Alex Jones Show. We have a very interesting show today. We have Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. Listen to these headlines. These are recent headlines from Infowars.com. Physicians' Australian anti-vaccination tour in chaos. Australian venues are canceling on the anti-vaccine campaigner. Then this headline, doctor educating public on vaccines receives bomb threats and cancels tours. What is it that they did not want you to hear? What is the message that is so important that they threaten the messenger? We see this all the time. We see it whether it's criminal actions being exposed by whistleblowers against the state. What does the state ever do? Do they ever go after the criminal action to try to shut that down? Of course they don't. They go after the whistleblowers. They threaten them, they jail them, they assassinate them, suiciding them. What is the message that Dr. Sherry Tenpenny wanted to tell the people of Australia? Well, we're going to find out. She's going to be with us in the second hour. We also have a lot of news about breaking developments in Europe. Just yesterday, there was a back and forth between Germany and Greece, of course, as to what's going to happen with Greek debt. Germany is essentially calling the shots. And so there's a lot of back and forth. Greek politicians are comparing the current German government to the Nazis. They have had an election. They have resoundingly rejected these austerity programs that have been forced on them by the EU. It appears that the EU is either going to begin to break up, and that's what Alan Greenspan was saying. It looks like there's going to be a Greek exit, or as they call it, a Grexit. They have increased the chances of that happening to 50%. That's from the Commerzbank AG. They think that's going to happen. Of course, Alan Greenspan said about a week or so ago that he thought that was going to happen. Some interesting stuff, though, came out of the live blogging that was going on that we saw from the Telegraph. They were live blogging the negotiations as it was happening yesterday in the EU. And here's some of the interesting points. Berlin, of course, rebuffed proposals to give them a 6-month extension, saying it was a Trojan horse. But the European Central Bank was forced to deny reports that it had discussed capital controls. Capital controls. In other words, you cannot move your money, locking your money up. This is going to be a very huge issue. Of course, out of the Ukraine, there's a lot of tension that is building up there. We just had some Russian jets do flyovers to the UK, pointing out that they are not going to be intimidated. This is a very dangerous game that's being played by NATO, by the United States, by the bankers. And it looks like Ukraine is starting to lose a civil war. We have an article on Infowars.com. The U.S.-backed government in Ukraine is starting to lose a civil war. Mainstream media in the U.S. is being very quiet about this, but the truth is the U.S.-backed government in Kiev is starting to lose the civil war. There's an article out on Foreign Policy magazine, Foreign Policy, saying talking about the draft dodgers of the Ukraine, talking about how the struggling army is trying to replenish its ranks. Looks to me like they are losing the civil war, but they have already lost the hearts and minds of their people. Amazing story. We're going to talk about that as well. And we have an interesting kind of funny bit of news. We've got the predictive programming is beginning for driverless cars. We've got a new concept that has been given the green light from Sony Pictures about a driverless car race from Paris to Beijing. If you look at this picture of the Google car, I think all they have to do to have a comedy is put people in that car. I could laugh at that for a couple of hours. That's the car with no steering wheel, no brakes, You're not going to get me in there. We're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. Stay with us. We've got a great program. Dr. Sherry Tenpenny is going to tell you what they don't want you to know in Australia.
For all of recorded history, civilizations around the world praised the health benefits of silver. At InfoWars Life, our mission is to bring you the highest quality, purest, cleanest, effective colloidal silver on the market today for the lowest price available. You don't have to be a doctor to know. The fall and winter months are the most dangerous time of year in North America when it comes to you and your family's health. InfoWarsLife.com is very excited to announce our biggest run yet of Silver Bullet colloidal silver, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, InfoWarsLife.com has taken colloidal silver to the next level using a cutting-edge technique that is free of toxic artificial additives. Now more than ever, it's important to stock up on high-quality Silver Bullet from InfoWarsLife.com. No survival chest is complete without Silver Bullet. Secure your Silver Bullet today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. Silver Bullet.
The government's Department of Homeland Security is buying up loads of ammo. At the same time, they're restricting civilians' rights to own and purchase firearms. Can you put two and two together? Infidel Body Armor can stop every round, including hollow points and .308 sniper rounds, is reasonably priced and fully legal. But for how long? Go to InfidelBodyArmor.com, spelled INFIDEL bodyarmor.com. Infidel Body Armor. Just won't quit.
When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. No one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. Just one of the key compounds, BioPQQ, is backed by major clinical studies. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? We now have the synergistic solution. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. The month of February is all about Valentine's Day. Big heart-shaped boxes filled with delicious candy. What if we, the Patriots, hijacked Valentine's Day and instead made it about human liberty and individual empowerment? I'm all about human potential. I'm all about the individual being empowered. The establishment is the opposite. That's why they spike our water with fluoride and GMO, estrogen mimickers, and the rest of the garbage. InfoWars is striking back in the month of February with Human Empowerment Month. How we can come together and win the human race. And to celebrate the kickoff of Human Empowerment Month, we're slashing prices on InfoWarsLife.com products like Super Male and Super Female Vitality. The sale is only running for the month, 20% off, and there's a lot of other powerful specials at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWarsLife.com, celebrating human potential in the month of February. Visit InfoWarsLife.com to find this special and many others in the month of February. Again, InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139.
We are on the march. The empire is on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday, the 20th day of February 2015. I'm Alex Jones, your host, with a special news update. You're looking at my little notepad here, and on the cover of it is the Great Wave of Hokusai, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Buckley. And this is one of the best-known paintings in the world. And it symbolizes, if you go read the breakdown from the different art museum websites, a time of great change and energy, overpowering, something that cannot be stopped. Undoubtedly, global governance has set in motion. The globalists have set forces in motion that will change world history forever. But we can use the energy like a judo move that they have set in motion to actually redirect their energies and bring in a new renaissance. We certainly know that if we go along with their operations, it's only going to make things worse for the average human, and have set in motion different actions that many historians, many military experts, many futurists believe have a very good chance of destroying life on this planet or causing cataclysms that are so bad we'd wish we were all dead. We're going to look at a confluence of some of these factors of the Great Wave here in just a moment. But right now, let's go over here to the computer, and you can see here in New York, Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Great Wave, from a series of 36 views of Mount Fuji. And I guess that's from out in the ocean. You can then see Mount Fuji there on the land with the boats coming across. And there is a close-up of the Great Wave itself. In fact, this is one of my favorite pen and inks to basically copy or add to a very powerful archetypal image, obviously. Now, let's look at some of these real great waves. This is a story up on Infowars.com today, and we've got a link to Shadow Stats. Top economist used to advise the White House, John Williams. Hyperinflation to start in 2015. Economist says, get supplies, gold, silver, canned goods, toilet paper, bottled water. He uses the numbers that they used up until Reagan and right back into 1900 or so with different government stats to come up with these numbers. These are with real numbers, not with the Cook numbers. And even on CNBC and CNN, they admit that Cook numbers are being used. So let's go back to this very important article here. It's impossible to predict when or how the economy will finally reach a breaking point, but according to contrarian Shadow Stats economist John Williams, it's coming one way or the other. I don't know if I would say he's really contrarian, though. I mean, he's using mainline numbers. He is contrarian from the Department of Commerce and Labor and the federal government, though, because they just shovel, loads of bull that you can keep your doctor and Obamacare cuts your prices. And then we've got Greg Hunter, USA Watchdog. We've got a bunch of other people in here breaking down the fact that all the numbers are there. I know this, going to even mainline restaurants, not fancy ones, they're about double what they were 3 years ago. So you've got some commodities like oil that have been artificially deflated, but you've got inflation out there because of QE Unlimited. You have the EU joining quantitative easing that violates their charter. So we're going to see inflation, but I think we're going to see inflation with depression in the real economy, kind of a hyper-stagflation, which economists say can't happen, but this is so artificial, we are beginning to see it happen. So there's that article up on Infowars.com. Then there's this report, and we knew that this was coming. Feds, anti-government groups, a bigger threat than ISIS. Remember on Monday when they said they were having this summit, I said, watch, once it gets kicked off, Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to hear about how patriot groups are the problem, and Obama wouldn't even say that radical Muslims were radical or terrorist. And all of his pundits and spokespeople said, because we don't want to anger the Muslims, and they're all perfectly good, this type of baloney. Feds, anti-government groups, a bigger threat than ISIS, while Islamic State brags about sleeper cells in the U.S., DHS frets about right-wingers. As President Barack Obama continues to receive criticism for his refusal to use the term Islamic extremism, Paul Joseph Watson article, some federal authorities and law enforcement groups in the United States assert that anti-government groups pose a bigger threat. And this has come out at the conference, and it's come out on CNN. We have the quote right here. Some federal and local law enforcement groups view the domestic terror threat from sovereign citizen groups as equal to, and in some cases greater than. There you go. So you're not seeing terror attacks by radical Muslims right now, shooting people and cutting their heads off. The threat from foreign Islamic terror groups such as ISIS that garner more public attention, reports CNN. And then it goes through Judicial Watch's documents on sleeper cells being ignored, all the rest of the preparations as the Islamists claim they're going to flood Europe with 500,000 people as a form of usurpation or basically La Reconquista. And of course, the original La Reconquista was the Spanish taking Spain back from the Muslims, from the Moors, from the North Africans. But this is a conquering. And the question is, will Europe go along with this? Well, the multiculturalists want to engineer a clash. I don't want to clash with Islam. I don't want the war of civilizations that Pienack wrote about, but that's what's being engineered right here, right now. Okay, let's now move along to another report on this front. This is even bigger. NATO prepares for war with Russia in Europe. We have links to Stars and Stripes saying that they're moving in A-10 Warthog tank busters. They're moving in tanks, and they've got different NATO commanders calling it a bold new plan, saying that they're prepared basically for war with Russia. And we have the Russian general saying, quote, "We're at war." Earlier this month, the former foreign relations head of the Russian military